Sit!
Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Garret Price.
How's it going?
He's Jagger May.
Howdy.
And we are talking some risers and some followers, some immediate reaction to yesterday's games on Sunday. We had some interesting games, more block kicks than I've ever seen in my entire life.
Pick sixes?
Dude, it was wild on those defensive streets. Like, it was entertaining. Like, I was at a Browns game. I was actually with Matt at a Browns game, and it was like, this never happens to my team. No, we're the team that gets our kick blocked and lose the game. So, and then my wife's like, she texted me, I just saw 3 block kicks in a matter of 30 seconds. And I'm like, oh, wow, dude. And I went back and actually watched some tape and saw the rest of the kicks as well. And it continued on to the night games as well. So exciting Sunday slate. You know, the injuries are still coming along. Some of them are getting more brutal than others. And, you know, unfortunately, part of this game, this is where, you know, we see it every week, right? Every week we'll be talking about guys finding new opportunity because the guys ahead of them were injured. Some could be mild, some could be severe. 2 severe ones this week. We saw Najee Harris go down with Achilles injury. That is never good. The only running back I've seen come back from an Achilles injury that has been worth anything in fantasy has been J.K. Dobbins, really, that has come out and done anything from a respectable level. So Najee's still not an old guy, but already treated as a number 2 running back. Hard for those guys to just – it was going to be hard for Najee to find an opportunity to be the guy again, regardless. Coming off Achilles injury here. Just makes that a little bit tougher. And then, of course, James Conner with a brutal ankle injury. So bad they wouldn't show the replay and kind of called him out for the year right away. So sometimes you want to go back and look at like what happened. I didn't even bother trying to find it because when they said it was really bad, I was like, I don't need to see that in my eyes today. Sure. So he's out for the year. Harris is out for the year. Tyrone Tracy's got a shoulder injury. No news on that. Mike Evans seems like he'll be okay. CeeDee Lamb's already saying he's playing next week no matter what. Terry McLaurin, Garrett, you said quad, and then Colston Loveland.
Yeah. There's no real news on it yet. He left in the second half and did not return. We'll see what that means. It could sometimes with these, it's nothing, and he's fine the next week. Sometimes it's one of those 2 to 3 weekers where you miss some time, and then we'll get him back. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, and then no real news on the Colston Loveland thing. He left in the second quarter, which is a bummer because he was starting to gain a little bit of steam, caught a touchdown in that game, and then left in the second quarter. So he even had halftime and still wasn't able to make it back. So you don't love seeing that, but we'll see what that means long term.
Yeah, and Luther Burden got a lot of action this week.
Got a bomb.
So obviously, with the biggest news, I think we can all agree our number 1 riser, it's unanimous, Jagger, this week is Trey Benson of the Arizona Cardinals, with the James Conner going down with his ankle injury and out for the year. And this is a player that, in a weaker running back class where Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson, this was a player that Garrett and I, we liked a lot. It was like 1A, 1B with Trey Benson. Loved his size, loved his speed, loved that he was capable in the passing game. And we saw that last week when he came out. He saw a career high 6 targets last week. And actually saw almost a 25% target share. Came in this week right after injury, 75% of the touches, had the goal line, was still involved in the passing game. Saw about 7% of the targets there. The new backup, the guy who role he took over, Amari DiMarcado, it got a little bit of that share, 25%. What are your thoughts, Jagger, on Trey Benson going forward for the Arizona Cardinals?
He's borderline a must start at this point, I think, going forward. I just have a hard time seeing where you wouldn't have room for him in your lineup unless you just stocked up on running backs, because he was already having flex standalone value on his own because he was in on a lot of those 2-minute drills. And especially now, it's like you said, like, you don't ever want to see a player go out like this, especially since James Conner had one hell of a run with his second life with the Cardinals. But this is what you overdrafted him as a rookie for if something were to happen, So I have like a lot of James Conner just because, like I said, he was a good flex and depth guy. If especially in Dynasty, what can you get for him in a trade? Like if someone just doesn't believe in him and you can get him for a second rounder or maybe something else plus, he's borderline a must trade target, I think, at this point, especially when you see the juice on tape when he does get the ball.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of juice, Garrett. Remember, we were a big fan of his size and speed coming out.
Yeah, real big fans of his game. Really liked the possibility of what could be there. And what we've seen traditionally up until this season from those Arizona Cardinals is whoever the lead back is gets a big bulk of the work. They traditionally were not splitting backfields. This year we started to see that, and it was because Trey Benson forced their hand. He had looked really, really good. They knew the changing of the guard was happening. I don't think anybody expected it to be like this at this point. It's always unfortunate when that happens, but this is obviously a huge, huge opportunity for Trey Benson to, the ceiling is, potentially starting to sniff those running back 1 type numbers where, he's running back 9, 10 on the season, simply because there's going to be a big time workload and he's a talented player, but I think he's very safely become an RB2 week in, week out. So I'm very bullish on Trey Benson. And Jagger, you mentioned getting him for a second. I would be willing to do that all day and twice on Sunday if I could. If I have him and I'm a team that's looking to sell, I'm asking for a first at this point. Like that's what I was going to
ask. I was like, is it a first? Because I had someone try to get Trey Benson from me on one of my very competitive leagues, and he's just like, how much do you want for him? I was like, I just don't think you can afford it, dude. I really like this guy. Caleb Johnson's in the shadow realm. I think I need him.
Yeah. 100%.
No, I agree. I'll take a step forward. I'm willing to pay a first as a contender for Trey Benson, and I'd pay a first happily. For Trey Benson as a contender, a 2026 first late round pick. I'm getting a very young Trey Benson, a person they invested in that we thought, hey, when they took him, that he had a path to be a starting running back in the NFL. And Garret mentioned a couple things. One, they had already started to carve out this path already with Trey Benson before this injury, right? Like it was a 50-50 split. Even going this game from a target share, like there's 4 and 4 for both running backs. They do like to target the running back. And Garret mentioned this offense produces running back talent from a fantasy football perspective. This offense is not clicking from a passing standpoint. It does not get it done on the field. So they will run the ball. And what's nice is they target the running back as well. If you combine all the running back targets with the wide receivers, like they're the number 1 target in this offense. You look at Trey Benson's stats going through 3 weeks. He has 21 rushes for 125 yards. He's averaging 6 yards per carries. He's seen 11 targets already, caught 8 of them for 45 yards. He's going to be the goal line back as well. He's in a solid position here to be low end running back 1 numbers and produce a couple weeks, in the ground game, just like how James Conner has, where he can give you some high end weeks. This is easily a first round buy for me in Dynasty. And sometimes I want to snap quick on these, right? Because some people I don't want to let it marinate in and let people sometimes think about think the history of it. Like I'm waking up Monday morning, I need running back shares. I just need say you win the year, oh man, I got Alvin Kamara. He's been a GOAT forever. Oh wow, all of a sudden he's not being targeted in the passing game as much, and this offense isn't cooking. I'm done there. Like Jagger said, I drafted Caleb Johnson with the expectations that he'd be the bell cow running back. The guy's been benched by Aaron Rodgers essentially. You need running back help, or you just need a third running back. Trey Benson is a great buy, and sometimes when you act quick, people can be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting a first for Trey Benson." I'm either recouping the first I paid or the high second, and then they're sitting there for a 3. That's a player we kind of talked about this, I think, last week or the week before, when I was like, sometimes you make these trades and you're sitting there why'd I do that? Why'd I do that trade? Right? That overreactionary trade where I just accepted a first. Of course, he's worth a first. Any young starting running back who's going to start for the rest of the year is worth a first round pick, because what you're getting here is, if James Conner's injury is that bad, he's a 30-year-old running back. They can get out from his contract after this year. the odds are that Trey Benson is not only the starting running back for the rest of this year, he's the starting running back for the Arizona Cardinals going forward. So any opportunity that you get to get a young bell cow running back, like Garret had said, is honestly the value is worth more than a first, right? Like I said a first, they snapped an eye. If I'm a contender, I'm setting my first and second for Trey Benson. Like, again, let somebody else on X or Twitter say, oh, you overpaid for Trey Benson. Like, all right, where are you finding your young running back set? Like, where are you going to get him? What running back do you think in next year's class you're going to get at 111, 112, 110?
Jagger and I, we did a show on, or actually might have been Andrew on that one, but we've done shows on this next year's running back class. And yeah, Love looks pretty good. And then you have a couple other guys, Haynes and Coleman, but like overall, it's not looking like an amazing running back class. You've got one really good guy and two or three other like, oh, that could be pretty solid. And then that's about it at this point.
And it's like they'll be pretty solid if and this and like you look at Caleb Johnson, you know, he could, like, we thought he was pretty safe and he goes to the perfect situation, and then where is he at? You know, I was on that show and we said that this draft class is a lot like Trey Benson's draft class. Where you're like, okay, we got two guys we like, and then some, you know,
right?
100%, man. I love it. And that's why he's worth more than that. And some people like, and listen, and the facts are too. Say Trey Benson starts this year, he's solid. He gives you high-end running back 2 numbers. And then next year he gives you the same thing. That's a massive win for a late first-round pick into running back. Yes. A massive win. So Trey Benson, go out, make some offers. Check your waiver wires in your shallow leagues. You never know. Amari DiMarcardo could have been cut on some rosters, could be a free agent somewhere. If you want to get a little bit of depth, you can go there as well. So check that as well. Who's next on our list here?
Yeah, we got Cam Skattebo came in at 2 for us. Now, this is somebody that is a back-to-back weeker. We had him last week because he started to take over that role a little bit from Tyrone Tracy, and we're already starting to see that again this week. But then Tyrone Tracy goes down with the collarbone, and you saw Cam Skattebo really take advantage of this opportunity. We've seen other players in the past go up against this Kansas City defense, and it's not been good. These running backs don't tend to play very well against Kansas City. Well, Cam Skattebo had a very, very nice game overall, 24.1 points, heavily involved in the passing game, also had that 13-yard rushing touchdown. Everything that you could have hoped and more out of Cam Skattebo. And Rich, we know that he was a divisive player, but we were heavily, as an entire show, heavily on the side of, we think this kid can play, and not only play, we think he could thrive at the next level.
Yeah, dude, this is a player where, again, I yell at it's so hard sometimes to not to let the NFL draft influence you and make you make decisions to go off all the hard work you do in the off season, right? Or leading up to the NFL draft. And we were as big as Cam Skattebo fans as you could possibly find out there. Like we were literally calling out other analysts. Like how do they have Cam Skattebo lower than like
12?
Caleb, like it doesn't make sense, right? Like none of it made sense to us. And I fell in the trap, man. I did. I fell in a lot of traps. I could have had easily so many more Cam Skattebo shares, and I went a different direction where I had him draft, and after 20-something years of playing Dynasty, I still can go off all my hard work in my pre-draft rankings. His contact balance, his receiving his ability, his ground and pound. He looks like a raw dog running back out there. Like I know in a broadcast, he said the comment like, "Oh, I feel like I was born 20 years too late because I feel like I'm an old school running back." He is just the guy that you get excited to watch week in and week out. And he's not overly dynamic, but he is productive. And again, he was heavily involved in a passing game here. We saw Tyrone Tracy come down just when we saw it looked like Tyrone Tracy was like reestablished himself as the guy as well. Like it sucks because I like Tyrone Tracy as well. This is where it's hard for me. It was hard for me with Skattebo. It's because I think he's a solid running back as well. But the excitement and the energy that he brings to that team, which does not look good. And we'll see how it looks with Jackson Dart soon, because I don't know how much longer they can go on being 0-3 with Russell Wilson. but he just gets it done. He looked really good in the passing game, looked really good in the ground game. That one touchdown he got where he dived, like the full extension dive to get in the end zone.
Yep.
I was like, man, this dude is a baller. And it's the same exact feeling I had watching his tape. If you go back and listen to his tape breakdowns, it's like, man, Cam Skattebo is the type of player where it's a pleasure to sit here and watch tape on, right? Because like every game, like, okay, what's the next game? What's the next game? Because he's fun to watch. And right now it's translating to the NFL level. And I love when I see immediate translation from college to the NFL level. And it looks the same, right? It looks exactly the same. A lot of people want to call Cam Skattebo slow. And I said he wasn't the fastest guy, but I really liked his interior and short area burst. He still got that in. And it worked at the college level, and it's working at the NFL level too. I think the 40 times is one of the most overrated things you could possibly talk about when it comes to NFL prospects. And Cam Skattebo looks like he's exactly where we had him, and he should have been ranked. I think we had him right after Quinshon Judkins, would have made him running back 5 overall. I had him in a tier completely above Caleb Johnson, completely above a different tier. And I had Dylan Sampson ahead of Caleb Johnson, and I let the third round draft capital and the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of go off of what my eyes told me, and shame on me. And that's what you get, right? Like that's what you get sometimes for not following the process. And that's what I get. But I mean, I don't know how you guys feel. I feel like Cam Skattebo, until the Tyrone Tracy thing, and they figure all that out, like he's probably more of like an RB2 flex play. But if he's the guy, like if say Tyrone Tracy's missing games, like with his pass catching ability, he could be a running back 1.
I mean, he was this week 24.1 points. I mean, he was a very legitimate running back 1. So yeah, Jagger, how are you feeling going forward with Cam Skattebo? And let's say Tyrone Tracy, it's not as bad as we initially thought. How do you see that playing out?
I wouldn't say Cam Skattebo hater, but I was a Cam Skattebo. He's a finer, like he's just fine.
Yeah.
You know, like what is being just appropriate on Cam Skattebo is what I felt like.
Yeah.
You know, but this
whelmed.
is
not overwhelmed,
yeah, exactly.
not underwhelmed. You're just whelmed.
Yeah. And with this in-season stuff, and they put it in a best ball lens, and to translate what his in-season value could translate to Dynasty, I was literally flip-flopping him and Tyrone Tracy because I'm like, it might be ugly. The Giants suck. Both of these guys can play, and I think they both should get usage. So what is it going to look like? And that's how it started out. And then what you're saying, and specifically the receiving upside in PPR, is where he's got to be a weekly starter. I think Tyrone Tracy in a bell cow role was a weekly starter. Even when it was ugly, he was putting up points, and especially in full PPR, you got to start him. Where I do worry about the overpay. And this is why I said I was overwhelmed, because the NFL cares about 40s more than we do, even to where we'll see him not give a guy a running back to give this dude with zero vision the ball, because every third carry he might make, like one might squeak out over there. And that's where I am still, again, just perfectly whelmed on Skattebo. And it's more like I expect this whole coaching staff to be gone. And if the next coaching staff comes out here and they do have concerns about style and overall burst, he could be, let's say like James Conard or something. Granted, James Robinson. Granted, James Robinson didn't have the draft capital that Cam Skattebo had.
Yeah, the thing with him though, guys, is like you could feel through the television the electricity change when Skattebo touches the ball on a team that has so much lackluster talent, right? Like, and you mentioned like it could even be more exciting with a guy like Jackson Dart coming in. The rookies that like to use those safety nets of those running backs in the flat. I mean, Cam Skattebo led this team in targets, one ahead of Malik Neighbors already. And you mentioned the PPR juice, and that's what I saw on film too, like how good he was in the receiving game. You look at a guy like that, and you're like, oh, that's like almost like a fullback, but like the guy can run routes. Like that's what's crazy about a guy like Cam Skattebo. The kid can run routes. So 6 yards per carry in this game, 8 targets, caught 6 of them for 61 yards. I'm unbelievably excited about him. I guess it really comes down to like costs. Like Jagger said, the talent's there, but there is so much mystery around him still. Like what happens when Tyrone Tracy comes back? What happens when the coaching staff gets fired? What happens when Jackson Dart comes in, right? Like it's such, and with the running back position, you're right. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the talent itself. It has to do with everything around him. So from a cost perspective, like I'm sitting here going, oh, it's easy to pay a first plus for Trey Benson, right? Like I have no problem doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Skattebo, for somebody who just took him in a second, you're not getting him for a second, right? Like somebody just invested him for a second. You might get a little bit crafty there and offer like maybe like somebody needs a receiver and you got receiver depth that you can kind of offset. Maybe an extra tight end you can kind of offset there. It's probably more of a player for player kind of trade because otherwise you're going to be like probably overpaying. And I'm not even saying that Cam
I'd be willing to though, Rich. Honestly, I would be willing to give that late first. I mean, we just saw him go to somewhere between 2.2 and 2.4, 2.5 in our drafts. So it's not really a huge like a much bigger investment than he originally had. And I liked this year's class better at this point than I like next year's class. So for me, like there will be people listening to this like, oh my gosh, you're overreacting. Like you're going to give okay, so I moved up 5 picks from what he was originally taken. Like, so for me, but it's because I believed in the tape. Like this is I believe in the player. If I didn't believe in the player, it would be a very, very different story, very, very different outcome. But that is because I believe in the player. I believe in the talent. I believe in the ability. And we see guys like a great example from last year. And I think this is probably one of the closest comps that we're going to have is Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving last year, 4th round pick. There was already an incumbent running back that was fine, nothing special, but a fine running back. He gets his opportunity to take over. He's a good pass catching back. Maybe not crazy dynamic as far as long speed because Bucky Irving didn't have that type of juice, doesn't have that type of juice either, where he's running, a 4.4 flat 40 or anything like that. And I think we could see a similar outcome. I don't know that we're going to get him quite to running back, 8, 9, 10, where a lot of people have Bucky, but in the 12 to 15 range, I think that's in the realm of possibility, but that's coming from a Cam Skattebo truther.
Yeah, and you're right. As being a truther myself, as you were talking, you'd already tipped me. I was so close on the scales. You'd already tipped me. And again, the first thing you said when you started saying that first, it kind of went back to what Jagger said, where he's like, yeah, next year's class kind of really reminds me of that Trey Benson class. And Trey Benson was going like late first in that draft class. Mm-hmm. And you also said with this draft class, the depth that we had, you're right, Garrett. In most years, I would have had Cam Skattebo easily in the first round of my overall values. This class was so deep of talent, definitely at the running back position, it pushed Cam Skattebo down. So the fact that he was my running back 5 in most years, he's probably my running back 2, my running back 3, because I love this tape so much. So for me, I think despite the risk, I might, if I'm a true contender and I need to running back help, I'd probably pay
11, 12,
6 first. And you're right. I don't think there's anything on top you have to pay there. Like I like Trey Benson. But I think you're right. I think the more I think about it here quickly, I think Cam Skattebo is worth a late first. And that's what you have to do. Like, listen, nobody's giving players away in Dynasty, right? Like it's easy to say like, oh, well, you here's 2 seconds. Like, what am I going to do at 2 seconds? Like definitely late random seconds. Like, dude, if you want this upside, like I'm not an idiot, right? Like I understand what you're trying to do there. Like I love draft picks. That's fine. Like you have to go chase the talent down. And I think maybe if it doesn't work out, you at least have a flex play and you have somebody that's not a trash player, right? You have somebody on your roster that you can use for the next couple of years. So yeah, I think I would be willing to pay a late first, if need be. And listen, I hate trading first for running backs. I do. But the only time I will do it is for guys like Trey Benson, Cam Skattebo, right? Like young running backs.
Yeah,
they're still young. Give me a couple years. That is it.
Quickly before we go, scenario. Because like here are your guys' arguments. I've moved to perfectly in the center to where I would say that I am bullish, and I mean actually bullish, not like super bullish, but like I am ish. Yeah, like I'm just right there. I'm like, okay, I'm smelling what you're stepping in type stuff. I'm not a Chase Brown believer as a talent. I'm a Chase Brown believer in situation. And he's
100%.
fast. I'll give that. That situation's gone, guys. And like we're going to talk about him later. Would you tear down off Chase Brown to get Skattebo plus at this point?
Oh, dude, great call, Jagger. Now you
that.
don't know, I'm one of the biggest Chase Brown haters.
Thank you, Rich. We're like spirit animals. Yes.
Yeah, dude, I loathed his tape. Like loathed it. I really
so
did.
bad.
I think when I was watching his tape, I was like, there's a better, if the defensive line was made of paper bags, they still have a chance to stop Chase Brown. That's what I thought. Now, he had good speed and he was viable in the passing game. I do not like him as a runner. And you're right. That situation has disappeared. His only value this week came again in the passing game. I've been saying tear down from Chase Brown forever. I've had him lower in my dynasty rankings than anybody else out there. I would love the tear down from Chase Brown to Cam Skattebo. And I think like, hey, here's Chase Brown in a third. Give me Cam Skattebo in your first. It's in the realm of possibilities, like in the realm, because that name is still hot. And I would love that. Like, honestly,
I would do the biggest jig ever.
Yeah. And honestly, what I would prefer to do is like, hey, here's Chase Brown in my, here's an offer I think would really get done. Here's Chase Brown in my 26 second. Give me Cam Skattebo in your 27 first.
Oh, chat, do that right now. Like, cause that's like, what Rich is saying right now is like, I call Chase Brown a Stevie Wonder where they can't see, there's no vision, but like, he's so fast that he's going to get one. And you're going like, see, I told you he was good. I'm like, no, he just runs like a 4.4, he got lucky. Yep. So like, that's like moving to a player that I at least believe in the tape a lot more than, cause like if you move Skattebo and Chase Brown, swap teams on him, there's no way that Chase Brown could do what Skattebo's doing right now for the Giants. But if you move Skattebo over to the Bengals, it's the same thing. I feel like there's no drop off there. So that's definitely a trade I'd make.
No, I love that. Love that. That is a great move for all. And obviously you're talking to a limited amount of people that have to have Chase Brown in that move. But like when we talk about windows of opportunity, I mean, I've been saying get off Chase Brown since the summertime after that big year. Some people tell me I'm crazy, but this is an opportunity because, like, you're right. I think, like Jagger said, it's probably going to get worse. Like that whole scenario in Cincinnati, like even already Jamar Chase owners are like, oh man, I got to suffer.
This stinks.
T. Higgins is probably going to be disappearing because we said that before. Like the biggest winner here was going to be Jamar Chase because they're probably going to throw more screens with Jake Brown in. T. Higgins is not involved in that game. Once they got rid of Joe Mixon, it was Chase Brown right there. Jamar Chase, and then Chase Brown will be still involved in a passing game, playing catch up. But like, that's it, man. That's a value that's going to fall out from under you. So I love that comparison, and tearing down is always a great opportunity to find those windows. So good call, Jagger.
Thanks.
All right, let's get to our next one here. Two guys that we are not going to cover, but they did at least make our list. Jordan Mason, the huge game for Minnesota, obviously taking over there for Aaron Jones. He looked every bit the part, but it was Cincinnati that they went up against.
But Garret, and he didn't even play in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he put up numbers. He put up absolute numbers. And then Trey Tucker, 3 tutties for Trey Tucker this last week. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'm believing just yet. But let's get to the guy that did make our list inside of our top 3, and that is Mr. Tory Horton, wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, a player that if you were watching the news in camp, it was like, hey, there's a lot coming out about Tory Horton. He's getting a lot of pub. He's getting a lot of love. And it's hard because everyone gets a lot of pub. Everyone gets a lot of love in camp. It's hard to weed through that. But then it started to trickle into the preseason, and he was looking good in the preseason, making some plays, scoring some touchdowns. And the biggest thing was he kept running with the ones. And that was the big thing. It was like, man, he's really continuing to play with that first team offense. Well, this week he had a little bit of a coming out party. His receiving line wasn't absurd. Now, granted, they blew this team out. They weren't passing much at the end of the game. But he had 3 receptions, 32 yards, scored another touchdown here. But he also had, and this is a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", a 95-yard touchdown punt return. So really showing off some athletic ability there for Tory Horton. He did crack our list, and Jagger, for a player like this that was borderline free in rookie drafts. I mean, he was going 4th, 5th round, sometimes undrafted, depending on the league. That's a pretty big come up from what we expected. Is this something that you see continuing? Do you feel good about him moving forward as, maybe a potential wide receiver 3 on a fantasy team? Or is this just, he looks good early, but I need to wait a little bit till I feel real good about him?
Quick context. My first start and gig in sports was as CSU beat reporter. I've watched Tory Horton's entire career on here. If anything, Tory Horton was one I said, I'm too biased. I got to shadow realm him because I just don't know. And he had injuries on here. But yes, sure. I think this is sustainable. This guy was a punt returner at 6'2". And he moved. He's one of those people that's like Giannis is what I would describe, where he's long and lanky, but he moves like a little slot receiver. And here's what I told everyone pre-draft. Do you believe in Marquez Valdes-Scantling? If your answer is no, then yes, I think this is sustainable going forward. It's just one of those where I didn't have to have a difficult decision tree on whether or not MVS or whether or not Tory Horton is draftable and should you be buying him, especially in Dynasty. He was one I was telling folks, hey, get him as a throw-in. Go get something else, but you're kind of Trojan horsing. Yeah. Just go get you some Tory Horton and I'm sure that they won't know anything. So I'm all wheels up for Tory Horton.
What about you, Rich?
Yeah. Going back to Trey Tucker that you mentioned too, just want to let everybody know what 3 touchdown game and get you. He's wide receiver 3 on the year right now. Just he had 14 points in week 1, smaller game week 2, but 40 points this week. He is wide receiver 3 overall. When everybody was arguing, is it Deontay Thornton or Jack Beck? Besh. It's Trey Tucker. So yeah, but Tory Horton, I mean, listen, the draft capital wasn't there. We knew he's a big, tall, fast receiver that could take the top off of defense. And Garrett, you mentioned there's been breadcrumbs here going all the way back since OTAs on Tory Horton, and it really just comes down to how much is Seattle going to really even throw the football is what we're going to be looking at. It comes down to because he's the third option there, but Cooper Kupp, like I said before the season started, I was like, what a weird thing. There's not been a nugget on Cooper Kupp, negative or positive. He's disappeared, but he's still in the NFL, right? And even as he's still not getting targeted there in Seattle, they're not throwing the football a ton out there. He had a very solid game. He had the 3 catches for 32 yards, and obviously he had the 1 touchdown. He still only had 4 targets. But to go to show you how much you're not throwing the football, those 4 targets was a 20% target share in that offense. So that's where it's going to go. Love the stash. Love the value because anybody who could be a number 2 option in the NFL is going to give us the upside. Right now, this is a ground and pound offense, though, and I'm not getting overly excited. Jackson Smith-Njigba, rightfully so, is a clear-cut number 1 there.
Oh yeah,
for Seattle. I still want to see how Elijah Arroyo is going to pan out in this offense too, and how he's going to turn into a target share. So Tory Horton's a really nice player. I'm still kind of going what I think of the tape though right now. Love him as a stash, one of my dynasty roster, but I feel he turns into he's a player that really helps an NFL team, really good NFL player that you want on your NFL team, even as number 2 option. I don't know how he's going to fit into the fantasy space in this current offense and how it's running. That's how I feel about him.
That's fair. And yesterday was such a weird day of football because I was doing a lot of rookie scouting and stuff like that. I got the big board coming out. And I heard that Sam Darnold's on the bench, and I'm like, oh, it started. And I was like, oh, because they're up? I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was looking at that score.
You look at the score, you're like, oh, you only threw 18 footballs. There's only 18 passes. They're like, what is going on around here, man?
Yeah, they 0 sits at all.
Yeah, defense, man. Yesterday was a defensive dominant
all day. Yeah.
Yep, crazy game. All right, let's get to our followers. We got to have our fun and be optimistic and dream what these players could be. But some of us have snapped us back to reality, and there goes gravity. Let's look at Michael Penix here. We have he is our biggest faller of the. Actually, you know what? He's not. We had one guy surpass him in our rankings as our biggest faller, and this is a name that was getting, including from our podcast, talks of like best players since Calvin Johnson at the position. And, you know,
Jeremiah
he's going to be an absolute, huh?
Jeremiah Smith?
Not yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. But no, this is Marvin Harrison Jr. Look, guys, so far, like I'll admit it, so far I feel like I'm taking a big L here because in my 6 years of doing the nerd score, this guy had my number one wide receiver nerd score. Everything I saw at Ohio State, the body control, the ability to be able to go up and get the football, everything except for he didn't have ridiculous, like quick in and out movements. But like, other than that, everything I saw felt like it was top notch. I feel like I'm not seeing the same player in the NFL that I saw in college. I don't know if it's a Marvin Harrison problem. I don't know if it's a scheme problem. Probably something both. But even in the game, this past game, he only had 7.4 points. And he's even dropping like easy, wide open passes. Like something's wrong. Like passes that middle school players catch, he's dropping. Like it's just unfathomable the drop off that we've had from Marvin Harrison Jr. And I've gone from like, guys, it's only 1 year. It wasn't even that bad of a year. 8 touchdowns, 800 yards. It was a fine season. To what we've seen these first few weeks, I'm nervous. I really am nervous. Rich, I see your face over there. You look nervous as well.
No, I am nervous, man. I'm gonna give you my honest truth of why I'm nervous. You said this is Marvin Harrison. There's a part of me starting to think like when even his demeanor, and listen, when he came to the NFL, like it was real weird to start. Like, remember, like he refused to sign his Fanatics the jersey.
That whole thing was weird.
He was all weird about that, like, and getting Madden, like he had this like weird demeanor. Like, there's a part of me starting to question, and I don't know, I think, like you said, coming out athletically as a receiver, a gifted individual, does everything so well. But sometimes, like, I mean, is there a part of me thinking, you said this is Marvin Harrison thing, does this dude love football? Does he care? Like, or is he one of those guys where his dad's a Hall of Fame receiver? He was like kind of going back to Justin Blackmon, right? Like a genetic freak, unbelievable, but just doesn't like love football, was always just kind of like put into the game and just was really good at it, got drafted real high, got the money, came from money. Does he have that dog in him, right? That like, I'm gonna go out there and be the number one receiver in him, because you need it as a receiver. You have to be that alpha, right? I know his dad didn't have that mentality either. So kind of going back there, but also I don't know if it's an offensive thing too, but what concerns you is you're right. He had a completely blown coverage downfield. It was like 30 yards downfield. That ball, and it looked like he took his eyes off it as well, but you got to make that. That's the easiest kindergarten catch of all time. He had a drop touchdown in the end zone as well. 2 big drops. Like, I am worried, man. If I'm concerned about, does he care? If I'm concerned about, is he going to catch the football? Am I concerned that he's not even the number one target in his offense? It's Trey McBride. Trey McBride had the 8 targets, not him. Mm-hmm. Like, where does this go? And unfortunately, like, you're stuck unless you're willing just to sell for like a first straight up. Like, you're stuck. And there's no way I'm taking I'd rather go ahead and ride this into the grave and wait for it to turn around, because he's so young, he's so talented. But am I nervous? Like, you might think I have hyperthermia. I'm shaking so bad over here, because it is scary as an owner, and for how much you invested in this player, whether it be a startup in your rookie draft, and how deep that class was and what you missed out on by taking him number 1 overall. You should be nervous too, because right now he's giving you wide receiver 3 numbers, and you drafted him, and you in startups or in rookie drafts to be your number 1. What a massive setback to your team from taking Marvin Harrison Jr. Is it over? Not by any means at all. But like, this is not a player that is turning into somebody that you thought was going to help carry your team for the next 10 years. I am petrified of what we're going to get on Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got to turn it back. And even like, did you guys see the post-game interview with him after the game?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, even though he's like, oh, we all got jobs to do. Like, again, nothing like, no dog mentality, kind of like, oh, it just kind of is what it is kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, man, dropped a couple footballs. Like, dude, like, no, man. Like, I need you to be an alpha right? I need you to be the bell of the ball, not some just, accessory in this Arizona offense. And then right now, going back to my Trey Benson love, like this is a run game offense. Like nothing else is even working out there in Arizona. This passing game outside of Trey McBride is just broken in my eyes.
I'm not okay. This is going to be a litmus test. You're either going to feel better or significantly worse. I will say, in the short term, you're going to feel significantly worse. In the long term, I think it's a top-down problem, and I think Jonathan Gannon is a very defensive-focused coach, and it shows. That offense has no leadership. Drew Petzing sucks. He sucks. Everyone said this. It's like, if they're going to keep Drew Petzing, get ready to learn sacrificial X, Marvin Harrison Jr. He barely, and granted, the concerning part is when he does get the easy looks, it's not going through, but Kyler Murray is not a vocal leader, and whatever that means for you, that could be a problem. Then you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who's not a vocal leader, and this is someone who you expect to be a leader in the locker room. And then you got Drew Petzing that's out there. I'm sorry, he just doesn't inspire anything from me. So you've got a busy dad up top, a Jonathan Gannon, who's really worried about his other kid over there. But your other kid over here who's like, it's the drowning pool meme over here where he's like holding up Buda Baker and that defense. And then you got Kyler Murray down there just drowning, and it's a huge problem. So like right now, I don't see how this is going to get better as long as the head of the snake up top doesn't get better. And a lot of people are, Kyler Murray, ain't it? I will say, guys, quarterback is hard. Go try to find a quarterback in the draft that can at least put up Kyler Murray numbers year in and year out. It is not easy. Kyler Murray is going to be a starter for a significant, like at least next 2 or 3 years, probably the Cardinals. Till they switch that offensive up, it's going to be bad. But I'm going to keep buying. I know I sound insane, guys, but like if you're paying a late first for Marvin Harrison Jr., or if you're going to tear down off of, let's say, Mike Evans, or I'm not saying Mike Evans specifically, some of these older receivers to go to a contender, if
AJ
you were trying to pack it in, I would buy him. That's just where I'm at.
Yeah, scared as I am and as much as I'm shaking, I'm definitely buying. And you say late first, I'd still pay a mid first. Like if I'm just like, if I'm a middle of the road team, like I'm happy to pay a mid first. I'm still going to gamble on the talent. Like, kind of going back to
Quentin Johnston could do it. Why can't Marvin Harrison Jr.? That's what I'm saying.
I saw somebody put a tweet out yesterday and said, It was like I can't remember a movie counted to be is like Quentin Johnston sucked the souls of Marvin Harrison and Brian Thomas out this year for the talent.
He space jammed him. With the basketball.
It was a Space Jam tweet. Yeah, he's like, he space jammed Marvin Harrison Jr. It's insane. Man. You got Trey Tucker out here and Quentin Johnston getting it done. Meanwhile, Brian Thomas and Marvin Harrison are going, hey, I'm still alive.
Hey, Nerd Herd, want to tell you about a show that we've been doing live on YouTube, where we go over your teams and we talk about how to fix your broken roster. It's called Roster Rescue. We do it live every single Monday at noon Eastern time. And if you want to get a part of that, just head to our Dynasty Nerds homepage, go under the store tab, and you'll find Roster Rescue right there. Perfect opportunity to get your rosters in shape before the season or even in the middle of the season to make sure that you can win a championship. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go to our next guy. I already kind of revealed what guy we were looking at here, but let's specifically talk now about Michael Penix Jr. So, Rich, I was also at the Browns game yesterday, and I'm checking my phone a couple times, and I'm looking around, halftime, and I'm like, 17-0. The Panthers are up 17-0 right now on the Falcons. That makes no sense. That's going to change. We're going to see a big, second half or something like that. And we didn't see a big second half. In fact, it got worse. This entire offense did not score a single point against the Carolina Panthers. Mm-hmm. Guys, we were just talking about Michael Penix recently, and I was like, hey, I really liked what I saw. First game, second week was
last week, Garrett.
Yeah, we were just talking about him. And like last week, I was like, guys, it was Minnesota. It was a weird game. They were running the football. Like, let's not get too worried. You put up 0 points against the Carolina Panthers. I go from guys chill out to like, oh crap, what's happening? Like complete change of scenery for me here where I'm at. So yeah, 5.8 points against that defense. No bueno. It is week 3. A lot could change. Sometimes guys just have super duds, but you expect it to be against Kansas City. You expect the super duds to be against, these really good defenses, the Denver Broncos, not against the Carolina Panthers. So I am pretty worried. Jagger, are you worried about Michael Penix?
Yeah, I'm also. Is the Panthers defense just better a little bit? I'm not just a little bit is what I'm saying. Just a smidge. Like I'm giving them a little bit of credit before I rip into Michael Penix is what I'm doing, But like I never thought Michael Penix should have been drafted that high. A lot of the things that I see what's wrong with Michael Penix are happening on tape. I was significantly in on Drake London for obvious reasons. I'm still in on Kyle Pitts at cost. Obviously, you can't not be in on Bijan Robinson. But this whole, you need to buy Michael Penix because he could give you top 5 QB value with passing volume. I never bought into it, man. His release is so ugly. It's not just because it's left-handed, man. Like, the way he moves in the pocket, I think is ugly. I don't really believe in Zach Robinson as an offensive coordinator a whole lot. So like the panic for me, it's pretty high on Michael Penix Jr. Had the Falcons looked like a competent organization? These are the questions I ask myself. When you think it's like you paid Kirk Cousins all that money, you immediately drafted Michael Penix right afterwards. No one was drafting Michael Penix high. I remember watching that draft and like you see everyone just like, what? It wasn't like, oh my God, a team drafted a QB and we're surprised they did it. It was just, why is this particular player going highly? And this is one of those things, man, where we talk ourselves into new is better, but it's not always that case, especially with quarterback. Now that I'm talking about it, he might be my biggest faller. Did I rank him accordingly that way? But it feels like it because the trickle-down effect to what you paid for Drake London and the upside of Bijan Robinson for the cost, the math ain't mathin', guys. It's not mathin'.
Math ain't mathin'. I'm not going to go too much into it because I literally sat on this podcast last week and said, I am selling Michael Penix. I am tearing down. I know, Garrett, you're like, but dude, he's still like young. I'm like, listen, I'm not saying he's bad. He's still not a viable asset, but like his ceiling to me is like QB 18. Like that's what I thought like about him. I was like, he offers no rushing upside. He's got only 29 yards rushing through 3 weeks. And listen, when you have a team that invests top 10 draft picks year in and year out for the last couple of years in Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson, 3 offensive weapons and top picks, and your quarterback doesn't score touchdowns or account for any touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. Michael Penix hasn't accounted for a touchdown since week 1, where he had 2. Has not had a touchdown in 2 weeks. That is unacceptable at any form of quarterback play. And it's not like, again, for me, it's like we sit here and want to talk like upside and where something go. Dude, Michael Penix he's a 5-year player in college, right? So this isn't somebody who just comes back. Like he needs to get like his feet wet, and like JJ McCarthy, like we can kind of grow with him. Like Drake May, we can grow with him. He's not that quarterback, man. And I said sell last week. That was your opportunity. You're not gonna be able to sell now because everybody's probably starting the panic button. And listen, I don't think it's gonna get better, Garrett. And he's got to play the Redskins coming up. He's got Buffalo coming up, and then he's got San Fran's defense coming up as well. If he can't get it done versus the Carolina Panthers defense, I don't know how he's gonna get it done versus Buffalo, versus San Francisco, and I am panicked, and rightfully so, because listen, we saw a lot of quarterbacks go in the first round of that draft, and a lot of them have looked good or solid, and it never pans out that way. And right now, if you had to say which one's the worst of the group, that's going to be like, hey guys, we have to pick a bust. It's going to be unanimously Michael Penix, pointing that way, but listen, he's insulated. Like Garrett Jagger said, like, when he went that high, this team, like, they're going to lose their jobs probably eventually for this mistake anyways, but like they have to go down with this ship. So they can't go back. So Michael Penix is the guy out there, and quarterbacks do score points. Michael Penix is not, and it's been abysmal. But boy, man, if I was panicked last week, I am twice as panicked this week. But you're not going to get anything from Michael Penix, so good luck with it.
Yeah, it's like
you're
know.
gonna have to down the ship and hope for better days at this point with him. Jagger, do you have something else there?
I said maybe you can get Burrow if you can. Like if you are one of the best salesmen out there, you'd be like, look, man, blah blah blah. J.C. Horn, he's the heart and soul of all defense ever. Like maybe something. I just don't like. I wouldn't do it, but maybe there's a sucker out there who's desperate, and you can get someone like Burrow and just like cut your losses.
If you get if you could easily give Penix and a first and a second and something like for Burrow, I would easily. I just bought Burrow in a league where I got I gave up Pat Mahomes and I got Burrow in a first back. Like
you
I
look good today.
Yeah, it was a team like I'm not a contender in that league, right? Like I don't feel like I'm a contender. So I was easily willing to give up Pat Mahomes. I gave up I think I gave up a second, but I got a 27 first back for Burrow, and they kept trying not to get to 27 first. But you're right. Like if you could take Penix and package them for any kind of like good quarterback out there that's going to miss time or picks, like I'd be totally for it. Let's get it. We only got 5 minutes left here, so let's get to our last dippity doodah.
Yeah, last one here. We were talking about Brian Thomas, but it's the other receiver that actually landed on the list this week. Travis Hunter, 3.1 points. Only 2 targets in this game, which is real concerning. And we also had, and I've seen it a couple places. I haven't seen it officially from like PFF or anything, but it sounds like he actually had more defensive snaps this past week.
Oh, he did, Garrett.
Offensive.
My buddy Mike Clay put out his stats on his X profile, and I saved it for this. So shout out to Mike Clay of ESPN. Week 1, 8 offensive targets, played 10% of defensive snaps. Week 2, 6 offensive targets, 60% of the defensive snaps. Week 3, 2 offensive targets, 69% of defensive snaps. We can all again, it's just following how things are going. This is for us fantasy football dynasty players. This is worst case scenario of how we played out. For anybody that was on their platforms, treetops saying, hey man, like I'm not drafting him because I'm worried about him playing more defense. And we're like, man, you don't draft a guy that high and give up that much draft capital. Browns look like a massive winner in this trade for a guy who's not going to play offense as well. This is not good. This makes him unstartable in your leagues. Unstartable. You cannot trust his offensive play percentage and the targets on top of that. This offensive mess. Trevor Lawrence looks like a mess. I was sitting here in the offseason preaching how much Trevor Lawrence shares I went and got. This offense looks like a mess. Brian Thomas isn't being involved. But, Brian Thomas is the number one. Travis Hunter, to me, is a benchable player. I just traded Travis Hunter. I unloaded him like before this week too, before this game started. I gave up Travis Hunter and Bill Krosky-Merritt in a 27 second. I texted you that, Garrett, for Ladd McConkey. So I gave up Travis Hunter, Bill, and a 27 second. I didn't try to give up the second, or it was a 26 second. Sorry. I didn't want to give the second. He's like, dude, if we're going to make this trade, I need the second. I was like, you know what?
Fair.
I'm not. I took Bill in the 5th, right? He was a 5th round rookie pick, not a pass catcher running back. He wasn't even the starter this week, so I got off that hype. And I was like, if you're asking me if I want Travis Hunter or Ladd McConkey right now, I'm not going to let a second round pick miss this opportunity. Because just imagine, after he saw this game, that price tag would probably be a little bit different on Travis Hunter. So I am. This is concerning, Jagger. I don't know how you feel, but if he's going to play this much defense, he's not startable.
Shane Waldron. That's just what I want to say. All that stuff you just said is valid, and you haven't even brought up the real problem.
You're right.
Shane Waldron. Just I can't, man. Why bring this man into the building? Why bring him into the building? Everywhere. He's the meme of the Grim Reaper, where you look at rookie wide receiver ones, and now you got Travis Hunter and BTJ. It's just Shane Waldron, guys. I can't do it, man. I'm even I'm even concerned that I can't even explain away Trevor Lawrence anymore. I'm over here saying like Laquan Jones was right because it's like all offseason he's like Trevor mid Lawrence. And I'm like, well, calm down, Laquan. You know he's all right and blah 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 blah. You remember how good he is? And then we look at the product on the field. I just like man, I'm on the wrong side of history, guys.
Oh man, yeah. No, it's all bad. Brian Thomas Jr. could have easily also made this list. I didn't put him on there because he was on last week, and I'm not trying to bury a guy, but it does not, unless you're a running back. The running backs have actually done pretty well in Jacksonville, but unless you're a running back, it has not been good for you in this offense. The other two guys that cracked our list, but didn't quite make the top three: T. Higgins, Chase Brown, other players that have obviously been losing quite a bit of value, but we know the reason why. That one's a pretty easily explainable one there with Joe Burrow's injury. So that wraps things up for today's Risers and Fallers show. We will be back each and every Monday giving you kind of the instant reaction to what's been going on in the NFL, the players that we like and the players we're worried about. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.